So my coach once told me, he say, I'm from Missouri, boy. He said, you're going to have to show me. Or you're going to end up on that bench lonely. That probably was a horrible Missouri accent. I'm sorry about that. But what my coach was saying was prove it. Prove what you proclaim. You know, it's a lot of people who seem to be in my church. On my team, but will never enter into the game. You got the one who is always slacking. And when it's time for practice, they are missing. Or you got the two, those who come to practice but distracted and don't listen. You got the three, the know-it-all, whose ego doesn't leave room for submission. Pride comes before the fall, and I'm sure by fall they would need a physician. Then there's the four, the insecure, who don't really make their own decisions. No conviction of really get in the game. They just kind of want to be where their friends is. And then there's the five, present, competitive, and ambitious, but not really giving all that they got. They're holding back, not truly trusting in the plans that he's given, and those are the tricky ones. Because it's a false pretense that they follow every rule in the book, when really they just booking to rule their own life. Just straight line, rook. Straight line, rook, for my chess players out there. Shout out to my chess players. All two of y'all. Look, my coach was looking for a team that'll follow his voice over the audience's accolades and affirmation and all of the noise. See, my coach was building up my spirit. Whether we won or we lost, it was never about counting a score. It was always about counting the cost. And this is why we are here today. In Luke 14:2-5, Jesus got something to say. This is the threshing floor. He's gathering the wheat, his voice, blowing his chaff away. He is serious. Got a message for him. You choose ye this day. He want disciples proclaiming the gospel, even when their lives are at stake. Yes, this is life or death. Yes, this is right or left. This is, I am either your all or nothing. What does your tongue confess? Am I the one in your heart or just one of the ones in your heart? I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for you. I already knew from the start, but you gotta know. What do you stand? Look, this is not a shot in the dark. This is the light of the world. A city on a hill. Keep you from missing the mark, you gotta know. If I'm not placed on your throne, and you put your mother, your father, or others before me, or even your own, you are not for me. Leave me alone. I need conclusive commitment. Don't take it literal. I'm not asking you to hate. I just need acoustic attention. Sensitive listening skills should be applied, provided the word of God is mentioned. It says, blessed. Blessed are those who are persecuted, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. See, Jesus is asking for loyalty in the midst of stones of rejection. The Sanhedrin is steaming, Pharisees scheming. There is no time for recession. You have to move forward, knowing the battle's not yours. It's the Lord's, and he is your weapon. See, discipleship is to share in the fellowship of his suffering. But fear not, little flock, for he will call you up with him. Kingdom living. But listen, you have to bear your own cross. Who desires to build a tower but first does not count the cost? Does not do self-inventory or self-assessment to see if you have what you ought. Before you lay a foundation, do some digging. Try to find out where you are or what you need. See, the truth is, your supply is in he who is God. Just come honestly before him as king. He'll work out the kinks in the car. I want you to know what's required of you. So you won't frivolously follow? Well, you say you love him today, then deny him tomorrow. He is serious. He already knows, but want you to know. In him, you have what it takes. Outside of him, that would not be the case, and you would be a living joke. Defected and not respected at the gate. But if you remain in him, and him in you, there will be much fruit on your plate, and this is what it's all about. See, building is good, but it means nothing if Jesus is not in the house. All things created through him, by him, for him, in and out. Burger. Shout out to In-N-Out Burger. I'm kind of hungry. Sorry about that. You know they got John 3:16 at the bottom of their cup? Y'all didn't know that, did y'all? Y'all gonna go to In-N-Out like, is that John 3:16? Listen, we have to count the cost as we stand before a God who sees all of our sinning. But in choosing Christ, we are holy in his sight, totally without blemish. See, we don't have to be perfect, just humble. You see, salvation is given to those who seek peace with God. Those are his children. Check it. This is the hope that I offer you on today. I'm going to throw this at you. I'm going to get out your way. God is saying this. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. I am enough for you, your portion and your cup for all of your days. I am here to meet all of your needs in Jesus' name. I am here to meet all of your needs in Jesus' name. And on the days you are in trouble, I am coming and keeping you safe. Become my disciple. Remove distraction out the way. Declutter your mind. Unplug. Slow down. Worship and pray. Like Bonhoeffer, when he went against the Nazi regime, counting the cost, sacrificing his life so the gospel is preached. Or what about Martin Luther King, who fought for justice and equality for blacks who didn't have a vote on the floor? He counted the cost, picked up his cross in a Birmingham jail, suffered so others wouldn't be forgotten and lost. Or what about Rodney Sisko, who just passed away recently? Gave Wheaton 34 years of his life as a black man. That wasn't easy, but for the sake of the gospel. He displayed grace through faith, brought unity and life to others who look like me on this stage. Trust me, God counted the cost when he sent Jesus Christ to the cross to redeem the lost, to redeem you, to be the salt at the end of the spear. He who has an ear, let him hear. Don't miss it. To be the salt at the end of the spear. He who has an ear, let him hear.
Stephen or Gaskin.
What's up?
Get down with your bad self.
Took us back.
So, intercultural artist in resident. Mm-hmm. Before we talk about the message that you're preaching from Luke 14, tell us a little bit about what you're passionate about and what you're doing here.
Oh, yeah, sweet. Well, hello, everyone. How are you? So I'm passionate about communicating the word of God in a creative way. When I gave my life to the Lord when I was 19 years old, I just fell in love with the word. So then I was able to come here and get my master's in biblical studies. That just took me further and deeper into the text to understand God more. So I was able to be a GRA here. Shout out to my GRAs in the building. Okay, RDs, Res Life, okay. So I was able to get my master's while I was a GRA, but this past summer, I was able to actually start a full-time job here as an intercultural arts associate. And what I'm doing with that is using a platform of visual performing arts to deepen ethnic diversity and promote racial unity. And this year, I've launched a project, and it's the Storytelling Project. So this Storytelling Project stems out of Genesis 1:27, the Imago Dei, that God has placed his image in all of us. So what I would love to do and what I believe is if I can share the stories of students, then ultimately I'll be displaying the face of God on campus. Just because our story, the stories that he's given us and his life and all he is, I get to share that. Yeah. So we're actually launching a project, and actually nobody really knows this name but my team. I have an incredible team of students, 7 students. They're all gifted and talented. They're amazing. Shout out to my team, the Storytelling Project. But we have a name for this project we're about to launch.
Are you going to tell us what it is?
I'm about to tell you for the first time.
Okay.
Y'all ready for the name?
Yeah.
Can I get a drum roll, please? Studio 127. So, I don't even know what to say right now, but Studio 127, and basically what we're doing is we're gonna put this booth in Lower Beamer, where the elbow is, after spring break. We're gonna launch it, and students will be able to step into this booth, share their story, or specific questions that we ask, and then we'll take that, and my team and I, we'll figure out a creative way to share that on campus. And that way, it plays out our vision. The vision is for every student to be seen and to be heard, and for every student to see and hear others.
That's amazing. Studio 127, I love it.
I
see what you did there with Genesis 127.
Exactly, that's what it is.
I see what you did there. Just trying to translate it here for my...
Appreciate it.
So, I'm very eager to get to a question about the cost of discipleship, but the art form of spoken word, I know some of us are familiar with it, some are not. Mm-hmm. It's poetics, it's imaginary language, it's wordplay, it's word stylings, it's intonation. Tell us a little bit about the art form and what you love about it, and why you've chosen kind of that as your main medium. Yeah,
I didn't choose it. I just think this is just a gift that God has given me. So I just try to use it for his glory as much as I can. One of my favorite passages is Psalm 1, for he is like a tree planted by streams of living water and will produce fruit in due season. I just ask that the Lord to just if I can just be plugged into him all the time, where everything I create is just glorifying him and putting him on display. So I've always loved words. When I was 12 years old, I remember just kind of like journaling. But when I was maybe about 15 years old, I started listening to hip hop music, and that began to shape my writing. It was like, oh, I can put this like in a verse. Oh, I can drop 16 bars on them, And I was influenced heavily by the hip hop culture, and that helped shape what I was doing. And then when I got saved, I actually threw all my hip hop out the window, like all my movies, all hip hop, everything, because I was like, all of this is of the devil. I can't listen to this. Now I've grown and I've seen like the liberties, and I see what I can listen to. But so from there, I remember when I did that, it was a season of just like seemingly dryness, but it was like a season of like depression and anxiety, and just like in my dorm room, like throwing my Bible across the floor and like, I hate myself, who am I? And man, God just redeemed me. And when the Bible talks about you being transformed by the renewing of your mind, that was my season. And that's where spoken word was born, because it was no music at that time. I wasn't listening to anything. I was just reading the Bible and just writing. And then after a while, what you see today is what came about. So as long as I can communicate God's word, I'm good.
That's great. So at the end of your piece, you mention Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Martin Luther King, and Rodney Sisko. And those three men have a lot of things in common, but one of the things they have in common is what we might sometimes call cruciformity, that their lives were in the shape of a cross. And this, of course, is what Jesus is after in Luke 14. Dietrich Bonhoeffer summed that passage up by saying, anytime Christ comes to a man, he bids him come and die. So there is this invitation to die to self. Of course, Martin Luther King and Cisco and Bonhoeffer lived that out in their own way. What does that mean for you personally? How do you live a cruciform life? And what does it mean for you to die to self? Because you so powerfully use the words to get to the gist of the text about taking up your cross and counting the cost. But what does that mean for you personally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we always want, as Christians, we want to like be like Peter. Like, Jesus, who talking about you? I'm cutting off ears today. You know what I'm saying? I think, and we want to do the big thing, of like, yeah, I'm going to be a missionary and I'm going across the world and I'm going to share the gospel and I'm going to be dying to myself daily. But I think where I'm at now in my life, I'm a family man now. I'm married. I have a son who's 6 months, you know what I'm saying? And I think for me, it's dying to myself every day with my wife. Like, that's how I'm learning and being shaped into being that disciple of Christ. I already know that I'm already in his arms. But he's shaping me, teaching me how to love my wife daily, dying to myself in that way, choosing her, not myself. And that's a tough thing. You're married, so we learn in that journey.
Cruciformity is changing diapers and sleepless nights.
I was getting to that, brother. Listen. So he's waking up every 2 hours now. Okay. Gosh, every 2 hours. Yeah. So, man, I'm dying to myself every day. But truth is, my wife, though, she's been doing a lot more. So she's been, thank you, baby. Thanks for carrying your cross.
Yeah. Well, the Bible says we shall not all sleep, we shall all be changed. So that's true for your child as well.
That's awesome. That's great.
All right. I want to make sure, don't you want to hear some more from Stevener? Okay. Stevener, looking forward to 2 more pieces, and one of those will be with the talented and inimitable Kiki Francois. Bring it up.
Kiki, go ahead and come up here, girl. So when I think about the text that we're talking about today, Luke 14, 25, 35, I think about the why. Why is Jesus asking us to follow him? Why is he asking us to become his disciple? And Jesus is on a mission. He is on a mission to free people from bondage. And this is a spiritual bondage. This is the bondage of religion. He's calling for relationship with himself. But he's setting people free. And whoever is free in him is free indeed. When I think about that text, I also think about modern day slavery. And I think about, specifically, human trafficking. So it's a piece that I wrote called Come For Me. And I'm going to share that, and Kiki's going to help. Tears. Tears pouring out like prophetic blessings. Tears pouring out like iridescently prophetic blessings. Hoping to anoint bird feathers lying dormant in pillows. Praying that they may somehow piece together and perhaps fly away the well from which these tears have come, housed in human. See, being springs of living water sounds fairy tale now. Here, broken promises are known very well, and there is no room for banter in this bed of bondage. How is this human? In this room, there are monsters. says the girl, while pointing at the door of the world. And lions are prowling there, defiling the vulnerable and insecure, the weak and the poor. Their pleasure is at the expense of
my pain. I exist not as woman, but as object, a means of exchange. There are millions of me, traffic for labor and sexual favors. They enslave and rape us. They beat and bash us. They ball up our crumpled dreams and self-esteems and trash us like pieces of paper. I am not far from reach via internet or next door neighbor. My voice echoes from dumpsters, kitchens, corner, brothel chambers. I am alone. No one comes for me. What am I? Can you hear me whisper my name? No, my real one, the one my mother gave me. Traffic has changed it. How do I say I'm traumatized in a different language? Where am I? Come for me. Someone. I was longing to be someone, but someone took my belonging. But I remember somewhere I am loved.
She says, and I believe everything she says. As I am now, a ball of unraveled threads, falling apart yet tangled and sad, ready to fight for people who cannot fight for themselves. Are you willing to go out on a limb? For there is where fruit dwells and freedom comes. A faithful few, holding up their half of the sky. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I advocate for women and children. No, I have a cape for women and children. The enslaved, 40 plus million. This industry's gross. 150 plus billion. Perversion consuming. You have seen how a human is made a slave. You shall see how a slave is made a human. Frederick Douglass. Where do we go now? How do we get this number to go down? How will I say I was lost, but now I am found if you don't come for me? Using your sky, providing hope and dignity, praying for overcomers, no longer a slave, but set free. Indeed.
Will you come for me? Come for me. Come. Please.
Please. Can we clap it up one more time for Kiki, y'all? So, it is Black History Month. I'll be remiss if I didn't share some Black history with you. And I also want to let you know, you have the freedom to respond however you like. You can clap, you can snap, you can woo! I see you over there. Stimulating manipulation. Stimulate and manipulation. You see, back in the day, they figured self-hate will oppress the African American population. A lot of their stimulation was stimulating manipulation. See, the penetration of their plan seeped deep in our memorization to the point where it descended from generation to generation. The continuation of hatred, African patriot misplaced in his matrix. The basics was to get in our mental, turn us into incompetent thinkers, a document featured by Willie Lynch. If you control their thoughts, then you only make sense. Teach them you the boss when they try to cross the fence, slacking on your macking, then you barely making rent, pimped. Turn them against each other, mother and daughter, father and son. Keep them drowning in fatherless sons, working for you, singing them songs. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. The big picture was the Big Dipper. It kept us disfigured with that big whipper. Boy, you gonna make me rich, boy. Make mulatto kids with your chick, boy. You're not worth the dirt on my kicks, boy. Now, don't that sound familiar? Turn on the radio, first song you hear. Boy, I'ma kill you. This is my point. This is where the joints connect and affects our cerebral cortex, leaving us in a complex set. That dialect need annihilation, or else we a dying nation. The seed was planted, it grew in our mind and hearts, expressed in the form of what we defined as art. Hip-hop, where are you? Where are you? Hip-hop. This is a touchy topic. I'm sure you're gonna be critical. I know you see me in the physical, but feel me in the spiritual. The ritual of hip-hop is now pitiful. Cynical messages killing our individuality. The morality is manipulated by salaries, foul tongues producing casualties. Where is the love? Where is the hugs we used to give our sisters and bros when Sam Cooke sang, "A change is coming for us"? What happened to hope? I think it's needing a pulley. The movement need a pushing. Won't you really be a bully? And I'm not blaming you, because I'm the same as you. I just notice a change is due. So I'm arranging a few words that'll seep into your mind, heart, and spirit. So what you really hearing, subconsciously killing the cultivation of a beautiful seed inside of you. That's why this is partly seeds of revival. Stimulating, manipulation. Stimulating, manipulation. TV stimulating, manipulation. Social media stimulating, manipulation. Movies stimulating, manipulation. Drugs, sex, lying, buying into how to steal, purchasing bad product from label producers or rappers promote how to kill, deceit, hate, envy, lust, greed, create sloth and pride. Folks deny what's within, blinding hope inside. Coke and weed substances is substituted for pain, depression, confusion, subside special growth in the brain. Or should I say soul? Soul to the media, false delusion. The boss we choosing lead us to a lost conclusion. Thoughts is fueling, the proportion of abortions is bruising, abusing our bodies. Facelifts, look, what size are you choosing? Perms and lipsticks make up the logistics, statistics of the stylistic world. I Earl on Satan's capitalistic. I don't want a two-tone, anything liposuctionally twisted. Traffic, eye tackled, shackled in the baffles column. No luck, self-struck since Eve purchased apple bottoms. Beauty comes from the heart. Beauty comes from the soul. Beauty comes from within. Beauty's in form of a rose. Rose comes from a seed. Seed comes from the earth. Earth created by he. So think about what you're worth. Stimulating, manipulation. Thank you.